My wife bragged about taking everything after the divorce. What they did not know was that I had already protected myself months earlier. Hello Reddit I plus here. I never thought I would be the guy writing one of these. I always rolled my eyes at revenge posts. Told myself real life was messier and quieter. Turns out it is quieter, but the mess can still be planned. This happened over the course of a year. I am writing it now, because the divorce finalized last week, and the silence after the judge signed felt heavier than any shouting match we ever had. The brag. I found out by accident. My wife left her tablet at home one afternoon. It buzzed while I was working from the kitchen. I was not snooping. The screen lit up with a group chat preview. Once the papers are signed, I am taking everything. He will be begging. There were laughing reactions, screenshots of listings, comments about upgrades and trips. My name was not mentioned, but I was the only husband in the room. I scrolled. That was my mistake, and also my awakening. She was not just planning to leave, she was rehearsing my destruction. The house I paid the down payment for. The business I built before we married, but foolishly merged finances with. Even my retirement account was listed with an estimate and a heart emoji. What hit hardest was not the money, it was the certainty. She spoke like a winner giving a victory speech before the game ended. I put the tablet back where I found it. I finished my workday. I kissed her that night and asked how her day went. Inside, something went cold and steady. New discovery. Once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. Little things suddenly lined up. Her sudden interest in our account balances, the way she insisted on being added as an authorized user on everything, the questions about beneficiaries framed as casual curiosity. I stopped reacting emotionally. I started documenting. I pulled bank statements and noticed transfers that made no sense. Small amounts at first, then larger. Always to accounts with vague labels. I checked the business books and found expenses that never existed. Marketing fees to companies that had no online presence. I hired a forensic accountant quietly. I told no one. Not my family, not my closest friend. The report came back thicker than expected. She had been skimming for months, moving money, setting up shells, funneling funds with the confidence of someone who believed I was too trusting to notice. There was more. The accountant flagged a pending loan application using my credit, a large one. The purpose was listed as property acquisition. I had signed nothing. I sat alone at my desk that night and laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so reckless. She was not just planning to take everything. She was planning to leave me holding debt for assets I would never see. That was when I stopped thinking defensively. Preparation. I did not confront her. I protected myself. I met with a lawyer known for being thorough and quiet. We spoke for hours. He asked questions that made me uncomfortable because they forced me to admit how naive I had been. We separated finances legally where possible. I froze credit. I locked down the business structure and documented ownership. I updated beneficiaries and trusts quietly and legally. Everything was done above board. No hiding, no illegal moves, just clarity and paperwork. At home, I played the part she expected. I stayed calm. I listened. I nodded when she complained about feeling unfulfilled. I agreed when she hinted about needing space. She mistook my composure for weakness. One night, I overheard her on the phone in the bedroom, voice low but excited. He has no idea. I'm going to walk away, set for life. I slept better than I had in months. Confrontation. She served me papers on a Friday afternoon. Very dramatic. She cried. She said she was sorry it had come to this. She said we both deserved happiness. I asked her one question. Are you sure you want to do this? She smiled through the tears. Absolutely. At mediation, she came armed with demands. The house, half the business, spousal support based on numbers she inflated confidently. She spoke loudly and often, like volume could bend reality. Her attorney looked comfortable, too comfortable. Mine waited. When it was my turn, I slid a folder across the table. Not thick, just precise. Bank transfers, shell accounts, the attempted loan, the unauthorized credit activity, the forensic report. The room changed temperature. Her attorney asked for a break. She stared at me like I was a stranger. You went through my things? I shook my head. I protected mine. Hidden truth. Here is the part that still makes my hands shake when I think about it. The accountant had found something else. Something even she did not know yet. One of the shell accounts she used had been linked to another name, a name tied to a previous business partner she claimed had cut her out years ago. Money had been moving back and forth between them regularly. That partner had a history, civil judgments, pending investigations. When my lawyer quietly shared this with her attorney, the bravado evaporated. Her side realized the risk instantly. This was no longer about a divorce settlement. This was about exposure. Suddenly, the tone shifted. Offers became reasonable. Demands disappeared. She asked to speak to me alone. I never meant for it to go this far, she said. I believed her. That was the worst part. She truly thought she was smarter than consequences. The reveal. The final hearing was brief. The judge reviewed the agreements. Assets stayed where they belonged. The business remained mine. The house was sold. Proceeds split fairly after accounting for what she had taken. Then my lawyer asked the court to acknowledge one more document. It was a repayment agreement, signed months earlier. One she had forgotten about. A personal loan she took from the business under false pretenses. Legally binding, enforceable. The amount was not life-ruining, but it was symbolic. It meant she did not walk away clean. It meant the story she told her friends was wrong. She did not take everything. She left owing. When we walked out, she did not look angry. She looked hollow. I did not celebrate. There was no victory lap. No smug message sent to anyone. The justice was quiet. I kept what I built. I avoided debt I never agreed to. I learned that trust without verification is not kindness. It is negligence. A week later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that her circle had gone silent. The bragging stopped. The story changed. Apparently, I was controlling. Apparently, I was lucky. I am fine with that. The real flip was internal. For months, I thought I was about to be ruined. Turns out, I had already saved myself before the storm even started. If there is a lesson here, it is simple. People who talk the loudest about winning rarely check the rulebook. And the strongest move you can make is preparing long before anyone knows there is a game. I thought it was over. I was wrong. A week after the hearing, her tone changed. The hollow look disappeared, replaced by something sharper. She stopped trying to explain herself and started trying to scare me. It began with emails from her lawyer. Long ones, aggressive ones. Full of words like misconduct, emotional distress, bad faith. They demanded renegotiation. They hinted at dragging the case out for years. The message was clear. Give her more, or bleed slowly. I did not respond emotionally. I forwarded everything to my attorney and went back to my routine. That silence bothered her more than any argument ever had. Then came the personal messages. You think this is over? I can make this very expensive for you. You know judges can change their minds. She tried to sound powerful, but the cracks were obvious. People who are winning do not send threats at midnight. She filed motions back to back. Claims that I had hidden assets. Claims that I had coerced her into signing agreements. Claims that I was abusive in subtle, unprovable ways. Each filing was designed to drain me. Time, money, energy. What she did not understand was that I had already prepared for this exact move. Every conversation we had in the final months was documented. Every financial decision was traceable. Every agreement had witnesses, timestamps, and clean records. When her accusations hit the court, my responses were boring. That was the key. Judges do not like drama. They like clarity. Her claims collapsed under simple questions. Where is the proof? Where is the transaction? Where is the witness? She had stories. I had documents. The manipulation attempt. When legal pressure failed, she tried a different angle. She reached out through mutual contacts. Suddenly, people were asking how I was doing, gently suggesting compromise. A few hinted that I was being cruel by not letting things go. Then she contacted my family directly. She cried to them. She framed herself as desperate. She said she was afraid of ending up with nothing. That one almost worked. My parents asked if I was sure I wanted to keep pushing. I showed them the records. Not all of them. Just enough. They stopped asking. Her final move was the boldest. She threatened to report me. Financial misconduct, tax issues, business irregularities, all vague, all implied. She assumed fear would make me fold. Instead, my lawyer filed a formal response. Calm, professional, inviting any investigation necessary, offering full cooperation. Attached were summaries, audits, compliance letters, and one quiet sentence at the end. Any knowingly false report would be treated as harassment and met with appropriate legal action. After that, the messages stopped. No more filings, no more emails, no more threats. Silence again. Months later, we crossed paths by chance. A public place. No drama. She looked tired. Smaller somehow. She said, "You did all this just to punish me." I answered honestly. "No, I did it so you could not punish me." She had no response to that. She tried to use the court as a weapon. It failed. She tried to use fear. It failed. She tried to use sympathy. It failed. What finally broke her was realizing she no longer had leverage. Power is not loud. It does not threaten. It prepares. She once bragged about taking everything. In the end, She lost the one thing she never planned for: control. And I walked away, not victorious, not bitter, just free.